So first I thought that Donald Trump's event in Mount Vernon, Virginia on Saturday was the most deranged event he's held to date, where he started calling former President Biden an SOB, but was cursing, and then he confused the names of countries. I'll go over that. But then on Sunday, I thought, wow, Donald Trump turning a Charlie Kirk memorial into a hate rally is probably the most deranged event yet. I don't use the term hate rally lightly. I mean, Donald Trump, unprovoked, says, I hate my political opponents. I hate you. And then Donald Trump started talking about tariffs and sending the military to invade American cities and said, Charlie would have wanted it. Charlie would have wanted it. So I thought that event was the most deranged yet. But then, before we went live today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump held a press conference on acetaminophen, which he said, acetaminophen. He doesn't know how to say it. Tylenol. He wanted to let you know that he made that connection. And then just started spreading these medical conspiracies that are even more deranged than RFK, if you could imagine that, or equally. It was Donald Trump telling you how he felt about things. I feel when it comes to Hep B, STD, Hep B, you do it at this age. Huh? You know about MMR? I think you take it this way. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. And then he goes, don't take Tylenol if you're a pregnant woman. Do not take it. And they're spreading like debunked quackery, far right-wing podcast insanity stuff that's not reflective of peer review medical information. They've fired the vaccine advisory board. They fired all of the people in the CDC. And honestly, just as an American, what just transpired, it's one of the most, maybe the most embarrassing thing ever. When Donald Trump said, the world is laughing at us and now no more. No, they are horrified. They are laughing. If you're an American and you're not humiliated, then you have no shame, or you're so brain rot that you have no clue what the hell is even going on. That's not even to mention Donald Trump's attack on free speech and what transpired last week when Trump got Jimmy Kimmel fired. And now Disney ABC says they're bringing Jimmy Kimmel back, set to start tomorrow, because people got absolutely livid, and actors and writers said, we ain't working for you, ABC, Disney, unless you bring Jimmy Kimmel back. And then over the weekend, we learn about Tom Homan, Donald Trump's so-called border czar, taking $50,000 in cash in a kava bag. That's like a Mediterranean kind of restaurant. And the cash was in the bag, and it's on videotape. And then today you have Donald Trump's chief propagandist, press secretary Karoline Leavitt, said he never took the money. Well, according to the FBI reports, it's on a tape. And this is like all things Trump, right? They make a statement, then it's like, okay, release the tape. Then they hide the tapes or destroy the tapes, just like the Epstein files. And folks, I haven't even touched upon the fact that we're heading for a government shutdown in, I don't know, a week and a half at this point, October 1st. And MAGA Mike Johnson canceled work for Congress. He canceled work for October 29th and 30th. He told Republicans, don't show up. Why would you tell him not to show up on the 2 days before the shutdown unless you actually want a shutdown to take place, which is what Donald Trump wants? I don't know how one can look at the totality of circumstances and not conclude that what Donald Trump is doing is either A, based on literally a dementia-ridden sicko mind, or more likely an intentional malicious effort to rip to shreds the United States of America. This is step by step what you would do to put America through the biggest humiliation ritual ever, and perhaps even most humiliatingly at all, that there's still 35% of the country that loves this stuff, which is just wild to me, because if you just look at the objective data, what the hell is going on here? Like, I'm not trying to say this from oh, you a leftist, you a Democrat, you're from blue state. No, what the hell is going on? I mean, seriously, what in the world is going on? If you're a farmer, he's crushing you. If you buy groceries, he's crushing you. Gas ain't $2 a gallon right now. That ain't helping you. Your health care is about to be taken away, regardless if you have Medicaid or Medicare, because the Affordable Care Act tax credits are about to expire. Democrats are trying to save those. Oh, you damn leftists. You're trying to save my health care? Why are you trying to save my health care for? I don't want my affordable. I don't want my Obamacare. It has the name Obama in it. Seriously, what is going on with this country right now? Let me bring in Brett and Jordy. Long intro, but what the hell is going on?
Long intro, but we got a whole lot to talk about. I mean, there's a whole, just a lot going on. I feel like every day we wake up and it's like a new version of hell. It's like, okay, what is today going to bring us? What, like, it doesn't even feel real at a certain point when you're watching Donald Trump on TV and he's screaming, don't take Tylenol. You're like, what are you doing? Why are you spreading these lies? And I think one of the things that is going to kind of thematically link so many of the things we speak about in this episode is a theme that we've talked about so much here on the MeidasTouch podcast. And that's how Trump always tries to exploit tragedy when, or just people's pain. You know, you could always be sure that when tragedy strikes, when people are fearful, Donald Trump will be there exploiting it to his political advantage. And we've seen that time and time again. We saw that during the various storms throughout the country when Donald Trump spread lies about FEMA. We're seeing that with this whole autism thing that Donald Trump is doing by trying to blame it all on Tylenol, despite the fact that there are no studies that say that is true whatsoever. We see it with what's going on with the Charlie Kirk incident. We're seeing it all over the map. Trump has one mode. It's here's some people in pain. Let me figure out how I can manipulate them and exploit them and hurt them further so that they have to rely on me, so that they beg me for scraps. It's just what we constantly see. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. And I agree with you, Ben. There's just such a propaganda arm out there right now, amplifying this stuff, getting people to be so divided that they don't care about basic facts or the truth. They just care about owning the other side. And I think what we all have to do here is at the MeidasTouch podcast, we don't think empathy is a dirty word. I think that's a big difference with us and so many people out there. I think empathy is a good thing. In my opinion, I think empathy is one of the most important qualities that a leader could have, that honestly any human being could have. We all need empathy. We all need to care for one another. We all need to be figuring out how we can help one another. And you should not let your own political beliefs get in the way of the truth when the truth is staring you in the face. You don't go, oh, that's just the leftist thing, or that's just what the medical community says. Yes, because they studied all of this, okay? Because they have the actual data. Maybe it's time to actually bring back trust, bring back some faith to these people who actually know what they're talking about, rather than these inexperienced losers that Donald Trump is putting in these positions of power as he enriches his buddies and everybody around him. Like I said, we got a whole lot to talk about, as you heard from Ben's intro. I'm going to toss it over to Jordy because I know I got a lot to say later on. But Jordy, what's the latest?
Exactly. Very similar sentiments, brothers. Mighty. I just feel like we're all collectively living through like one of the most traumatic timelines in modern day American history. And we're all doing it together. And it is, quite frankly, exhausting. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today, especially just because there's been a lot going on and they're trying to keep you down. And it's really just bizarre. That's the only thing that I could say after watching these press conferences, especially today's, Ben and Brett. It's just like, oh my God. But, look, we're all in this together. And thankfully we have wonderful partners here at the MeidasTouch channel, such as Dr. Vin Gupta. And I think Ben and Dr. Vin Gupta are going to be doing a emergency press conference later, responding to everything. And so it's just now more than ever, we need real, reliable facts, data, scientists, and doctors, because experts empathy should not be a dirty word. Experts should not be a dirty word either. And we need those now more than ever.
And I want to give a quick shout out to our Midas Health series. Dr. Vin Gupta is doing such an incredible job. A lot of people have been asking, so where can we watch Midas Health? Well, we're putting these emergency episodes here on YouTube, so you can watch right here on YouTube. And they're also on the MeidasTouch podcast feed. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, you just go there, you listen to it. We usually do at least one episode a week. It'll come on the feed. It's also on our Substack at MeidasPlus.com, so you can check it out on our Substack. All right, Ben, where shall we begin?
I want to start just by saying this as well. A phrase you'll hear me use a lot on my daily videos and on this show and in our Substack is the phrase moral clarity, because there ain't a whole lot of it in 2025 and frankly, leading up to 2025. And we need to speak with moral clarity. And that means it has to be rooted in values more than just short-term transactional gain. And I think what Trumpism represents is short-term transactional gain, whether that's market manipulation, getting rich quick schemes, and nobody wants to call out the facts, the science, the values, things that are deeply rooted in what it means to be a democracy. And sometimes calling it out is going to result in some short-term pain. Yes, Disney, ABC, you may face retaliation by the Trump regime, or Apple. You may face higher tariffs if you don't show up at the White House delivering gold bars to Donald Trump. But in the long term, you are going to be better off, because if you capitulate in the short term, Trump's going to keep going after you. And when the entire ship that is the United States sinks, guess what? You're on that ship as well. You ain't getting off, and it's going to eventually impact and hurt you as well, versus if you acted with moral clarity. Another word that's so needed right now is leadership. We need people to act as leaders, and that means making tough decisions. That means speaking out about moral clarity, even if you take incoming threats or harassment or criticism. That's what leaders do. Leaders don't send their communities into get butchered, basically, and walk them into it. Leaders have to explain to people, if people are getting disinformation, what's the disinformation? Why are they getting hurt? And you have to take a stand and say, I understand you may have heard this on the internet, or you may have heard this from a friend or whoever, but they are wrong, okay? And you need to understand that. So I am going to make a leadership recommendation, and I'm specifically, I could give a lot of examples, but when we talk about labor unions, all those unions who did not want to endorse Kamala Harris and stayed on the sidelines, it was like, it's obvious that Trump hates unions. It's very clear. If your union members feel he likes unions, they're being misled and defrauded. So you, as the union leader, need to stand up and say, I know you're hearing that, but that is wrong. Otherwise, the loudest, dumbest, stupidest, most dangerous voices control the conversation while you bend to their whims. I just wanted to say that from the outset. Now, before showing you some of these clips that Donald Trump spreads disinformation, I want to read a statement from the OBGYN lead group, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. They called Donald Trump's statements about do not take Tylenol totally irresponsible. And they said that the suggestion that Tylenol use in pregnancy causes autism, which is what Trump directly said from the Oval Office, those statements are irresponsible when considering the harmful and confusing message they send to pregnant patients. Today's announcement by HHS is not backed by the full body of scientific evidence and dangerously simplifies the many and complex causes of neurologic challenges in children. Dr. Stephen Fleischman said in a statement, it is highly unsettling that our federal health agencies are willing to make an announcement that will affect the health and well-being of millions of people without the backing of reliable data. Now, I'm glad that they put out a statement like that, but notice who they do not mention in the statement. It's not just HHS as this amorphous entity. It's Donald Trump. And people need to start labeling where the problem is coming from, that we have a demented, authoritarian, vile piece of trash in the Oval Office who is spewing it. and he's a liar. He's a dangerous maniac, and he is sending the United States into the dustbin, a trash can, a dumpster in the world. We need to call out what this, it's not HHS, it's Donald Trump and who he appoints. But the buck stops with him. I've never seen this lack of accountability structure when we have someone who doesn't even know how to pronounce acetaminophen telling people, do not take Tylenol. I mean, here literally.
I think you actually pronounce it Epstein-ametaphone.
I think that's what you pronounce. But listen to what he says here. He says, do not take Tylenol. This is a crazy man. This is not normal behavior. And it's annoying when you're going to no one watches corporate news. We're like, Donald Trump made a controversial statement today that the medical community has some concerns about. You see, Donald Trump gave a position that this, but critics of Donald Trump say that, no, this is a crazy, insane, dangerous human being behaving worse than a toddler would act. Watch what he does as he says, don't take Tylenol. Let's play it.
Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. You'll be uncomfortable. It won't be as easy, maybe, but don't take it. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. And don't give it to the baby after the baby is born. And you know what? We have more than 3 years.
Then he goes on to say that there are certain groups that don't take vaccines and don't take pills, so they don't have autism. And Donald Trump from the Oval Office says the Amish, they don't get autism because they don't take vaccines, which is not a true statement. Let's be very clear. It's a deranged conspiracy theory, but also his attack on vaccines from the Oval Office. And he does go on to attack the vaccines for polio, measles, mumps, rubella. That's what's going to get people killed en masse. Here, play this clip.
Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000, and then you go to 12, you know there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism.
Then Donald Trump does not know how to pronounce the word acetaminophen. Let's play it.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Then he says that there's a rumor that because people in Cuba can't afford Tylenol, that they don't get autism in Cuba. Again, this is just made up, deranged, ignorant stuff. Here, play this clip.
This country is going through what parts of the world are going through. And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one.
Tell me about that one. You shouldn't be starting a statement in the Oval Office that I just heard a rumor about X, Y, and Z when you're supposed to be surrounded with the top experts. But Donald Trump has fired the top experts. The vaccine board has been gutted. The CDC has been gutted. And look, I could show you a lot more clips. Donald Trump attacks vaccines for Hep B and then says his own guidance of when he believes people should take Hep B vaccines and how they should treat it. He then talks about MMR and says, this is when I think that you should take it. That, again, cuts against what the medical community says. And there's a real significant risk now that polio, measles, mumps, rubella, hep B, horrible and horrific things are going to surge, which we're already seeing happen in a lot of red states. And this stuff is going to kill people. What Trump did in the Oval Office will result in many thousands of people, tens of thousands, and perhaps more dying, in my opinion. Brett, Jordy.
I agree. And it's so dangerous. Honestly, that may have been one of the single most, if not the single most dangerous press conferences Trump had ever did. I immediately got flashbacks to Donald Trump's press conferences during COVID, where he sidelined the experts and started spouting his own theories. We need to inject disinfectant, eject the disinfectant. It's like that, but now he's actually putting that into policies, and the people around him are going, "Yes, it's." I shouldn't do the impression. They're doing. They're saying that, you're right, Mr. President. Yes, you're a genius. This is great. They're pushing his worst possible kind of, the parts of him, and this is what people are getting now. And the thing is, like, yes, you could say, like, okay, 30 to 35% of the American people, are people who probably believe Donald Trump when he says these things, which is like way too much. But there are going to be people beyond that who think there's no way a president of the United States could be so irresponsible that he would say something that defiantly, that he would say something with that sort of passion without any evidence whatsoever. I mean, this is like the most important thing ever. My child, my baby. There's no way the president of the United States would lie about that. No, yes, he would, he did. And this is what he does about everything. And I think it's just so incredibly manipulative to see how Donald Trump takes a situation like this, where you have parents who are very concerned about their children, right? Like, you have a lot of probably parents of autistic kids who are trying to figure out why, how do I fix this? What do I do here? Was it me? Is it external factors? What happened? What went wrong? Like, they're thinking all of these things about their kids who are probably doing great, by the way. Like, I know so many autistic kids who are doing like incredible stuff, and they're thinking that. And then Donald Trump goes, "Oh, you know that thing on Facebook that you read about Tylenol? True. And it reminds me when we go back to the past, right? And just how extreme this Republican Party has become under Donald Trump. You think back to that moment with John McCain at that town hall, when John McCain was confronted by a voter who was clearly reading those same sort of Facebook-y message boards where they said, Mr. McCain, Senator McCain, I heard there was rumor, Obama, he's an Arab. And John McCain said, "No, this is a lie." By the way, obviously there would be nothing wrong if he was indeed, but John McCain actually said, "No, that's a conspiracy theory. That's not true. That's a lie." What we have now in this Trump era is the top of the party and everyone else in the party going, "Yes, your conspiracy theory is correct. Let me play to your worst instincts. Let me actually embrace that. Let me embrace whatever you're thinking that could possibly be making you scared and nervous. Let me exploit that so I could take advantage of you." And that, to me, is just so horrific to watch happen on this and on literally like every single issue that we're seeing with this administration.
You're spot on, Brett. And let me just paint a quick picture for our audio listeners. So you have a makeup wearing, orange face, clown looking guy like Donald Trump. I mean, that's just what he looks like. Speaking, cognitively addled, if you could call it speaking. I don't know what he's doing up there, just kind of stumbling through words. You got RFK Jr. over his right shoulder. You got Dr. Oz over his left shoulder, just like nodding along, like what he's saying is making sense. And it's just, it's scary. That's all I have to say when I watch it. Like, that is deeply disturbing shit that we're all watching right there, because he's doing this based on vibes. He even says it during this presser. He says, in my opinion, this is X, Y, and Z reason why it's bad for you. And it's like, again, it all stems from the MAGA attack on experts. And we've seen it at the start of COVID, and we see it to this day. There is something against them with people who actually study and know the facts based on data. For MAGA, and especially for Donald Trump, that's such a bizarre concept for him. That, what do you mean? You're not, no. Look, trust me, I'm Donnie. I know everything, and it's Tylenol that's causing it. So I'm just going to warn everyone, and I'm going to say, hey, don't take the Tylenol, everyone, especially if you're pregnant. And like the way he's such a predator, man. The way he's even talking during this, addressing pregnant women, He's like telling them, like essentially, if you're in pain, suck it up. Don't suck it up. You could fight through it. And it's like, dude, back off, man. You're such an abuser. You're a predator. And most of all, you're truly just an insane person at the helm right now. And for me, and I know brothers too, we all have young kids on this podcast, and seeing this, and I'm just trying to think 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the line here, the domino effects that something like a Donald Trump press conference of the one that we just witnessed is going to have on society at large. It's scary stuff, man.
By the way, I cannot wait till I'm able to get my son vaccinated. I'm like counting down the days. And I just want to leave everybody with this message before I turn it over to Ben, which is, please, I know a lot of you believe this, but some of you there might be something to what Donald Trump is saying. Please do not take medical advice from Donald Trump or RFK Jr. Please consult medical professionals. Please consult your own doctor, okay? Ben.
So state regime media known as Fox, their whole chyron and announcement throughout the day was autism announcement, autism breakthrough was the chyron. And this is how they launder this as news. Autism breakthrough. So the MAGA mushbrain viewers who are watching this believe that there was some major breakthrough that Donald Trump and RFK uncovered. That's how it's being delivered to them. And that is so deeply irresponsible. That's the nicest thing I can say about it, is that it's deeply irresponsible. More likely, it is deeply malicious at its core. All right, I want to take our first quick break of the show. When we come back, I want to talk about the fact that we are now in a manufacturing and construction recession. The Financial Times reports, although Donald Trump lies and claims that we brought in somewhere between $9 trillion and $17 trillion from foreign countries, which is just utterly false. Donald Trump does not know the names of the countries that visit the White House. He keeps either referring to Armenia as Albania, or the deal between Armenia, and he says Azerbaijan as Azerbaijan. He doesn't know how to say it, but then said,
do you think he could get acetaminophen in Azerbaijan?
And then he said Armenia did a deal with Cambodia. I mean, in every level of this, we have the most unqualified, deranged individual there. We'll talk about that and more. Just a programming note. We're going to be doing our Patreon chat next Monday, not today, Monday. So we are just rescheduling that. So please be there next Monday. I know that there were a lot of people who reached out about holidays and travel and all these things. So we're going to move it to the following Monday for all of the people who have reached out.
And Shana Tova to all those who celebrate.
Let's take and become a member of our YouTube channel if you can as well. That's been hugely helpful to our growth. First quick break. Let's come back. Let's chat more after this quick break.
This episode is brought to you by IQBAR, our exclusive snack and hydration sponsor. IQBAR is the better-for-you plant protein-based snack made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash. All IQBAR products are entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners. All IQBAR products are packed with clean, delicious ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit, like magnesium, lion's mane, adaptogenins, and more. IQBAR's plant protein bars are the smarter snack choice with more fiber and less sugar and carbs than the alternatives. With over 20,000 five-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQBAR's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their ultimate sampler pack includes all three. IQBAR has become part of my daily routine, whether it's starting my morning with IQ Joe or grabbing an IQBAR or IQ Mix to refuel or rehydrate after a hard workout. I honestly can't pick my favorite anymore. All IQBAR products are must tries at this point. And right now, IQBAR is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQBAR products, including the sampler pack plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text TRUTH to 64,000. Text TRUTH to 64,000. That's TRUTH to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
My dogs, Taquito and Chiquito, are the happiest dogs ever. You know why? Because I give them Sundays for Dogs, which is, let's face it, the best dog food ever. What I love about Sundays for Dogs is that, like, unlike other fresh dog food, Sundays does not require refrigeration or preparation because of their air drying process. You just pour it and serve it, and you can cancel or pause your subscription with Sundays for Dogs at any time with their 14-day money back guarantee. It's fresh dog food. It's made from a short list of human grade ingredients, which I love and I know my doggies love. It was co-founded by Dr. Tori Waxman, a practicing veterinarian who tests and formulates every version of each recipe. And Sundays contains 100% all natural meat and superfoods and 0% synthetic nutrients or artificial ingredients. So here's the deal we negotiated for your puppies, because I want them to be as happy as mine. Get 40% off your first order of Sundays. Go to sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas or use code Meidas at checkout. Go to sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas or use code Meidas at checkout. My doggies, Taquito and Chiquito, tell me that your doggies will love Sundays also.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, before I toss it over to you, I've come to the realization, you know how the Marvel movies have like different timelines for characters and arcs and story plots? We're not living in the main timeline. And that upsets me, because what we're witnessing right now, there's just no way this is the main. There's no way we're on Earth 737.
Jordy, you ever go like, you ever think like, is it possible like we all died during COVID and like was this just some like hellscape we're now living? Like I sometimes have these thoughts where I'm just like, is this real life, man? Like maybe we all just died. We're all in hell or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm revealing too much about my own psychology.
Oh man. Well, if we are, I'm glad I'm in here with you guys.
Yeah.
Well, Jordy, you mentioned Marvel, which filmed a lot in Georgia, right? And there's been reporting that Marvel is moving a lot of those jobs overseas. Some say it has to do with the healthcare costs that are there. But, I thought that Donald Trump was going to fix it and it was going to be the cheapest thing ever. So you just mentioned Marvel. You could probably give me any reference, Jordy, and I can do that with as well. But, today we saw the Financial Times report that U.S. manufacturing and construction are experiencing recession-like conditions. You know how when it was with Biden, they would just like predict recession that never happened. So when there actually is one with Trump, they're like, it's recession-like. It's kind of like a recession. I mean, look, it's obvious to anybody who knows the job market right now that the job market is horrible. If you live in a community that's around factories and manufacturing, I mean, you know that factories are shutting down and laying off workers right now. The only thing that's really being built are these massive data centers for AI, which is consuming a shit ton of energy and jacking up everybody's energy costs at their home, taking over massive swaths of farmland that Trump is just giving to his oligarch friends. We see that across the country to fuel AI, which is ultimately eliminating jobs of Americans and further fueling.
By the way, if you're wondering, like, why are all these tech people, why are they sucking up to Donald Trump so much? Like, why are they doing it? It's exactly because of that, because they want just complete unfettered ability, unrestricted, no regulations at all for them to build all these AI data centers and use up energy while it drives up your costs, so long as they could fire employees with their new AI technology and continue to build. That's like what so much of this is about. And that's why you see Zuckerberg doing the stupid act that he's doing. That's why you see Tim Cook sucking up. It's why you see Sam Altman there. Like it's all the same shit.
Right. In the movie Don't Look Up, which is a reference that I give that was on Netflix, where the comet or asteroid's about to hit the Earth, and there's a whole like MAGA-like movement about don't look up. The billionaires create a plan to mine the asteroid for its natural resources versus actually destroy it so it doesn't I hope I'm not ruining the movie for people who haven't seen it. I should give an alert there, spoiler alert, so that the asteroid doesn't destroy Earth, but they focused on mining the resources, and then it's ultimately too late. Like, that's what these billionaire oligarchs are doing here in the United States across the board. And these data centers and AI, both in terms of energy consumption, job killing, the environment, climate change, like they are literally, and now Trump's vaccine quackery, which always existed, but to see it unfold like that in the Oval Office, I mean, that literally is a don't look up kind of moment right there. If you look at how Americans feel about Donald Trump's handling of the economy, 63% disapprove, 34% approve. Whereas at the same time, same poll from American Research Group, which does a good job on these things, Biden's handling the economy in September 2024, 51% disapprove, 44% approve, which is one of the reasons that Democrats ultimately lost that election. Trump promised, I alone can fix it. I'm going to make everything more affordable on day one. And of course, he's actually made things significantly worse, where Biden had things on a track of inflation cooling, the economy rising. Had Donald Trump just put the economy on autopilot, literally did nothing, we'd be in a pretty good place that he could take credit for it. But he's actually the worst human being for the job right now. Based on his malignant narcissism, he will make every move that is the worst possible move in the situation. And then based on his pathology, his malignant narcissism, he'll then do everything to then make it worse versus actually solve the issue. It's one of the deeply concerning things is, as bad as George W. Bush was, in my opinion, in handling the economy, which led to the Great Recession, at the very least, when there was the crisis, he delegated and let the best people kind of figure it out and kind of help deal with the situation. Trump would replace his own defective pathology with the experts, and there's no longer any experts working anywhere near government that are competent. So, as I said in the intro, though, I said, first, I thought that Trump's Mount Vernon, Virginia thing that he did on Saturday was the worst. Then I thought Charlie Kirk's memorial, which Trump turned into a hate rally. And then ultimately I saw that Oval Office event today where Trump started spewing vaccine quackery that's going to kill people. But here's what Donald Trump said in Glendale, Arizona. He turned Charlie Kirk's memorial into a hate rally. I do want to say this because I thought that Erica Kirk's speech was... I can say objectively, I thought that her speech met the moment. I was very impressed by her speech. I'm not critical of the speech that she gave. You know, I thought it was heartfelt. I felt sympathy. I've condemned violence in all of its forms before, but I thought that she was there and speaking from her heart. She like forgave the shooter, and it was a very, her speech was, I thought met the moment. I really did. Let's give you my honest opinion. But then the contrast that showed between what she was saying versus what Trump and Don Jr., like Don Jr. was trying to do like weird stand up, and then Stephen Miller was just yelling. But Donald Trump literally said, I hate my opponents. I hate them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponents. I don't want the best for them. Here's what Trump says. Let's play.
In that private moment on his dying day, we find everything we need to know about who Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
Just not what you should be saying as the president of the United States. Not what you should be saying in any capacity at all or in any leadership position. But that is what fuels division, and that's what fuels problems. I'll just also fact check it. I think that Charlie Kirk hated his enemies. He said lots of hateful things about Black people, gay people, trans people, women.
Biden should be executed.
Biden should be executed. Kind of mocked Palestinians who were being killed en masse. So I think that Charlie Kirk said very hateful things. That's just my opinion on it. But Donald Trump to say, I hate these people. I mean, this is the thing. You're the president of the United States. You're supposed to be uniting, but you are further dividing. And then he used and would invoke Charlie's name to like talk about tariff, and Charlie loves my tariffs against the world. We're bringing in trillions of dollars, again, which we're not. But he just gives away the game plan. Okay, you're just going to invoke Charlie's name for everything that you're doing. That's sending the country in the wrong direction to say, Charlie told me to do it. And then he says that as well about sending the Marines into American cities. But I don't need to show you that one. I'll show you this one, though, where he talks about tariffs are making us rich again. And the way he says it, too, he's like, turning point is hot. Erica and Charlie, they're hot. America is hot. Our tariffs are like Charlie. Here, play this clip.
Just like Charlie and Erica made Turning Point hot, we are looking at a country that has the chance to attain a level like never before. Tariffs are making us rich again, richer than anybody ever thought was possible. And the only one challenging them are people that hate our country or foreign countries that are paying a price because they did the same thing to us for years. They took advantage.
Brett, Jordy, again, like utterly deranged. And I just, when people say, like when I give the lead up to the clip,
Yeah.
I make sure my lead up, like I'm not being hyperbolic. That's what pisses me off about corporate news and their coverage of it. Like I'm literally just telling you what they said. Then I play the clip and I show you that they said that. I don't know else how to characterize what we saw other than by just saying, here's what he said.
I saw, I think it was like a study recently where they were saying that one of the issues that people have, there's a psychological thing, and it goes to what you're saying, Ben, and why it's so important that we play the clips, is that when people hear about like, what are these policies? What is Donald Trump saying? Oh man, Republicans really plan on taking away healthcare from millions and millions of Americans in order to give tax cuts to the richest Americans. When they hear that, some people, and this is like there have been studies about this, their brains go, you're making it up. You know, they're inclined to believe that nobody could have that much of a lack of humanity that they could possibly actually do something that heinous and evil. So these must be lies coming from the other side. These must be political talking points. But the truth is, no, like this, we're just in an era right now where there are just the most heinous things being said, the most actions, heinous actions being done upon our fellow Americans. And it's disgusting. And that's why we do have to continue to show the clips. And Ben, I could not agree with you more what you said in the lead up to those clips. I thought Erica Kirk was extremely gracious in her speech. I felt for her. I really deeply feel for her. I cannot imagine the strength that it requires to get up on that stage in front of that many people just days after your husband was shot in such an atrocious manner, killed in cold blood. I cannot imagine having the strength to go up and deliver the speech that she gave. But to see the way these political actors hijack this event for their political ends, it goes to what I was saying earlier in this episode, that they never waste the tragedy, these people. They always try to exploit it. So you have a bunch of people who are very upset, right? Obviously, we have our opinions of Charlie Kirk, right? And we feel strongly about that based on our values and our principles. There are a lot of people who felt much differently about him, and they're sad. They lost somebody who was a part of their life. And instead of trying to console them, instead of trying to unite the country, this is one of those moments where you could unite the country, try to pull out the best in everybody, tell that crowd we are all Americans. Instead of doing that in this moment, you use this moment to further inflame tensions, to stoke more hatred, to stoke more violence. And to me, that is completely disgraceful. If you listen, and I don't want to play the clips, but you listen to Stephen Miller's speech, it was like a ripoff of the Nazi propaganda minister Goebbels. If you listen to his speech, like literally like nearly word for word. Tucker Carlson was up there implying that Jews were responsible. Happy Rosh Hashanah, everybody. Implying that the Jews were responsible for the killing of Charlie Kirk. That was the context of Tucker Carlson's remarks, if you heard him. It was a very thinly veiled anti-Semitic speech that he gave. And then Trump's speech where he's ranting about tariffs and sending the U.S. military into cities, just further increasing the temperature, further trying to use this moment to once again try to radicalize people instead of trying to actually ground people and make this a moment where we could unite as Americans around common values. To me, that is just the most disgraceful thing. And that is the most dangerous aspect to me about Donald Trump as a so-called leader. It's that he does not have the ability to actually lead our country in moments of crisis. And when crisis strikes, he always inevitably makes it way, way, way worse.
And for our audio listeners, we were playing clips from the C-SPAN footage. And so under the clips from the C-SPAN footage, it says Charlie's name, birthday, death date, and then it says memorial service. And so I just can't help but when we're playing those clips of Donald Trump, it did not turn. It turned from a memorial service literally into a hate rally, like that, the snap of a finger. And I guess that's what you get with Donald Trump in this regime, unfortunately. But it's on full display for everybody to see. You know, again, this was supposed to be a memorial. It felt like it was more of a CPAC type RNC convention than anything else. And just the things that they were spewing. We played the clip of Donald Trump. Y'all heard that. Absolutely bonkers. I want you guys to share that with people in your circles because, again, absolutely bonkers stuff. The Stephen Miller clip, that's on our Instagram account. Go at MeidasTouch. Check that out. Because all of this stuff right now is just so reprehensible. And it's just like it just makes you want to scream. But again, I'm happy the collective we here, the Meidas Mighty, the brother, all of us here, that we're all in this together, seeing this for what it is. And that's just the most anti-democratic attack on the institutions that we live for. It's really, really such scary times. But again, I'm glad we're in this together.
And one of the things I just want to say quickly is we're also seeing just the complete fall from grace of the corporate media every single day. And it's something that really bothers me. You know, Ben was kind of, giving his impression of the corporate media about how they're likely going to cover this insane press conference today that Donald Trump did about Tylenol, where they just kind of, they normalize it, they sanitize it, they make it sound like it's
I think Ben accidentally said something about it being controversial, as if he was playing the corporate media role. I think they'll say something more along the lines of, and Donald Trump raised a red flag today on Tylenol, like something.
Yeah, with the new announcement on autism
exactly.
from they make it sound like it's a legitimate thing, which is the issue. And even yesterday, I was watching football, and after football on CBS, they went right into a story about the Charlie Kirk event, and they made it. I can't even explain it. I was horrified. First off, they made it sound like they were honoring like the Pope or something, like this incredible conservative activist who inspired millions and did wonderful things and touched the youth. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And the president of the United States, President Donald Trump, gave an incredible speech where he fired the crowd up. I'm like, am I living in an alternate reality right now? Like, did you not hear him say that he hates half of the country? Did you not hear him say he's sending the military into American cities, that he's ranting about tariffs during what is supposed to be a eulogy? Like, this is the coverage on CBS News. And it just really, really, really drives me up the wall and makes me feel like I'm nuts. But I know that I'm not. I know that it's their issue, that you have all of these companies who continue to fold to this administration, who continue to just buckle and do whatever they want, who are scared of saying a bit of truth if it's negative about the Trump administration. And that's kind of the whole point, Ben.
It goes back to what I said at the outset too, though. Moral clarity, values, leadership. When you have a foundation of values and you don't deviate from it, you can see these things. And if they deviate from that, you have to just use this objective lens to call it out. If every speech was like Erica's, like Erica Kirk, there wouldn't be I wouldn't criticize it. I wouldn't say, awful speech. No, I mean, I would tell you, I thought that Erica's speech met the moment. I thought it was touching. And despite the fact that I think that Charlie Kirk was a bad guy who said hateful things, I thought her speech was really meant the moment.
And by the way, Ben, even if it weren't, I would give her enough grace in this moment to be like, listen, this is a person who is suffering. This is a person who just witnessed the most horrific thing imaginable that you could witness happen to somebody she loves. And so, but she didn't. She actually did, I think, a very gracious, a very passionate, emotional speech. These other people, however.
Yeah. And hence I call it out because objectively that's just the reality and we shouldn't be okay with that. If your boss or coworker or family member behaved in that way, or neighbor or whoever, like, you would call it out or you wouldn't be okay with it. And so why are we okay with it and normalizing it at the highest level of leadership? That's what it always comes down to me, not Democrat, Republican, independent, red. But to me, it just is moral clarity, values, leadership, democracy, and normalcy versus chaos. Like, does this make sense? And I think we, again, as leaders, we have to speak with moral clarity. So we're going to take our last quick break of the show. When we come back, I do want to talk about Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, allegedly taking $50,000 of cash in a bag from a restaurant called Cava in Texas. It's apparently on tape. But
don't disrespect Cava now. Cava's good stuff.
I like Cava a lot.
I love it. Love a Cava.
But now the regime is saying that never happened. Okay, well then release the tape. Okay, release the files, release the tape. Like, we get into these endless cycles of the lies and the cover-ups every day with like a new thing. And then you have, of course, Donald Trump's posts that we'll talk about, where he says, Pam, you need to go after my political opponents, Schiff and Letitia James and Comey. You need to go after them. Bring them to justice now! ! And then Trump fired the Eastern District top federal prosecutor, this Eric Siebert guy. He appoints his own personal attorney, Lindsay Halligan, in that position and directs Lindsay to prosecute them. And she's probably going to prosecute them. This is going to happen, and we've just, this is unprecedented. That, if this was found in some file and you'd ever be like, oh my God. But the fact that Trump is saying it out loud doesn't make it better. It's just outright fascism. That's what it is. We'll talk about that and more. Last break of the show. Reminder, go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Next Monday, we got a lot of requests. Please move it to next week because of the holidays. You're right. We're moving it to next week. So we'll do it next Monday, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Become a member of our YouTube channel. It helps grow this platform. Last break. Home stretch. We'll see you back shortly.
As someone in my 30s, I'm taking steps to ensure I keep living my best life. That's why I'm so happy I found Timeline's first ever longevity gummies. Timeline's first ever longevity gummies, powered by MitoPure, is a delicious, easy way to put more energy into your day and treat yourself. Look, our body makes less energy as we get older, but now you can help recharge the batteries. Timeline's longevity gummies are the only clinically proven urolithin A gummy for strength and healthy aging from the inside out. We're living longer than ever, but are we living better? Truly ask yourself, what if the key to not just adding years to your life, but life to your years starts at the cellular level? Timeline targets a key hallmark of aging. It gives you the energy to feel like yourself again and delivers 6 times more urolithin A than a glass of pomegranate juice. And it increases muscle strength by up to 12% after 16 weeks. These longevity gummies fit perfectly into my routine, and I actually enjoy taking them. If you want to stay strong and energized now and as you age, then you have to try MitoPure gummies. My friends at Timeline are offering 20% off just for my listeners. Head to timeline.com/MeidasTouch to get started. That's timeline.com/MeidasTouch. Your cells will thank you. If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is the target. Now here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document. They use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property, and you won't even know what's happened. That is until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. So, when's the last time you checked your home title? If your answer is never, you need to do something about it right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Meidas at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Protect yourself like I did. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and use promo code Meidas. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Meidas. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know he sent you. Benji, before I toss it over to you, I just got to correct one thing for the record. The main timeline on the MCU, because I saw folks commenting and I don't want to get called out, it's actually 616. Earth 616 is the main MCU timeline. Again, which we're not.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Again, which we're all clearly actually not living in together. Ben, where to next?
Let's go to that Mount Vernon event that Trump did on Saturday, where he called former President Biden, who is trying to survive stage 4 cancer right now. It's obviously difficult times for former President Biden, but Donald Trump gives a speech and says, Biden's a son of a bitch, and he curses. He uses the words son of a bitch. And then he says, don't feel bad for him. Don't feel bad for him ever. That's how Donald Trump is spending his time. Again, this is all just hate, divisive stuff. That's not what a leader should be saying. Here, play this clip.
The very angry, mean Biden. Biden was always a mean guy, but never a smart guy. Even you go back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, he was a stupid guy. But he was always a mean son of a bitch, How's it working? Not working too well for him right now, as that says. So when you start feeling sorry for him, remember, he was a bad guy. And I created the first...
Yeah, horrible, horrible stuff right there. Then Donald Trump's comment about his meeting with King Charles, where he got the Disney King, Queen, Princess experience at Windsor Castle. Donald Trump said that this is what he was talking to King Charles about. Here, let's play this clip.
Old, right? But 990. It's and the name of the king at the time was William the Conqueror. I said, that's the coolest name I've ever heard. William the Conqueror. And he built this massive, massive castle, and he was known for winning wars. It's very interesting. In fact, I asked King Charles, why do we call you Charles the Conqueror? He said, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. But he's a great guy, and he's doing a great job, an unbelievable job. But the 250th anniversary.
Then Donald Trump started making up wars that he claims that he's resolved, when he promised he would end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours after the election, which he now says was just a joke and he was being sarcastic. He also has not ended the atrocities being committed in Gaza. America's refused to even recognize the existence of a Palestinian state at the request of Netanyahu. Meanwhile, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom, and many other nations are formally recognizing the existence of the Palestinian state, as they should, this week in the United Nations, in my opinion, of course. But here Donald Trump starts talking about wars, and he says, I resolved the war between Armenia and Cambodia. Here, play this clip.
We had one over here, one over there. And slowly over the course of about an hour, they came close. And at the end of an hour, we were hugging each other and holding hands. It was an amazing thing. And we settled that war. That was not settleable, as the expression goes. Cambodia and Armenia, it was just starting, and it was a bad one. Think of that.
Okay, Cambodia and Armenia, not in a war. He means Azerbaijan. If you go and ask the Armenian community what they think about the resolution, you go, what was the resolution? It would just codify that Azerbaijan took over certain disputed territory. And then Donald Trump brought the leaders, who he doesn't even know who they are, of Azerbaijan and Armenia into an area in the White House where he has Trump 2028 gear, and was just kind of pointing it out to them. Just very, very weird stuff right there. He's previously called Armenia Albania. I played those videos before. I'm not going to show it here. But going to the press conference in the White House today, Karoline Leavitt was asked about the report from MSNBC and Washington Post. They got a great exclusive that the FBI has Tom Homan, the border czar, on tape accepting $50,000 in cash back in 2024, saying that if he were to, if Trump were to win, that Homan would direct government contracts to these undercover FBI agents who were acting as business individuals. And according to the FBI reports, this was caught on videotape. That's what's being reported by Washington Post and MSN. It was on a video recording. Yeah, video recording on tape. So that's pretty definitive. If it's on a video recording. But here's what Karoline Leavitt said. Let's play it.
Sure. Thanks, Caroline. So too on the Homan investigation, I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest.
Okay, so then she goes on and blames Biden. Well, here's the thing too, right? Where it's like the Epstein files, right? Like, okay, well, they're the files. So if you would like to produce the files and show us, then show us. And then we get into these cycles of the cover-up, then the MAGA Republicans block the subpoenas, then Democrats fight for it, and then a new one emerges like this, right? And this is like
but Ben, think about this brilliant scheme, okay? Just think about this brilliant scheme. The Biden DOJ, they discover that somebody, one of the closest people to Donald Trump, who's going to be likely running his whole border operation, they catch him in a bribery scheme. And in order to assist their election efforts, they keep that information completely private from the public and don't tell a single person. Wow. Brilliant. Karoline Leavitt, you have nailed it once again.
Brett, not just any DOJ, though. Biden's weaponized DOJ. They decided to keep that a secret. We're hush hush on this one, Ben.
It's like, the thing is this, there's so many criminals in this White House, and there's so many people who have done bad things. And this is also one of the issues that we've been seeing over the past few years. It's that when somebody commits crimes or allegedly commits crimes, oftentimes in an ideal world, in a just world, they get prosecuted for those crimes. And the fact that, just a matter of fact here, that a lot of the people in this administration or tied to this administration have committed a multitude of crimes over the past 3 years. And especially as we saw going back to January 6th and all this stuff. And a lot of people began to get prosecuted for those crimes. Now, what the Republicans did is they said that was weaponization because they were being held responsible for those acts. So now they are going after Democrats, trying to play both sides here and make a false equivalence, saying you went after us. Now we're going after you, Letitia James. Now we're going after you, Adam Schiff. Now we're going after you, James Comey, whoever it is, because they are actually weaponizing the DOJ when the DOJ before was actually following the law and was trying to prosecute criminals. And by the way, I think a lot of people, maybe most people listening to this podcast would say they weren't doing a quick enough job at it. And I would have to agree with you on that one. Ben.
Not to make light of Watergate, but to make light of Watergate. I don't know how they teach it in school anymore. I really don't, because of all the craziness that we've seen unfold over these last handful of years. Like, that was a very serious subject matter. We all went to the same high school, public school. Shout out Long Island. Shout out Plainview JFK. And it was a very serious subject matter, and they taught it with the severity and the sternness that needed to be taught with over there. They did a fantastic job. Great history department over there. But I just think to myself, how are kids learning about this now? Because every day is another Watergate. It's unbelievable.
Well, and it goes back to the term that I used at the beginning, moral clarity. During Watergate, the Republican Party had the moral clarity when Nixon was uncovered to have engaged. Nixon tried to hide it, but when it was uncovered what he was doing, which is, like, frankly, compared to what Trump does, like, what Nixon did in Watergate wouldn't even be a story in the Trump era. That's how massive the Trump criminal cartel is, as I think it is, exists. But the Republicans were going to hold Nixon accountable. So Nixon left. He resigned, right? After all of the pressure that was put on him. But again, that's moral clarity. And speaking about moral clarity, an example too is look what happened in Brazil. where their Supreme Court did something very different than our Supreme Court, right? Their Supreme Court heard the case of their former insurrectionist president, who's very close friends with Donald Trump, Jair Bolsonaro, who tried to topple the Lula administration after Jair lost the election. Very similar to the United States. Their Supreme Court found Jair Bolsonaro guilty, and he's going to be sentenced, and he has been sentenced to 25 plus years, probably going to serve the rest of his life in prison. But what does the Trump regime do today? They hit the wife of the Brazil Supreme Court judge with Magnitsky Act sanctions, as though she was like a terrorist, as though she was like a Russian oligarch. The Trump regime goes after the wife. They've already gone after the Brazilian Supreme Court judge, to be very clear. But they now go after the wife and hit her with these what's called Magnitsky Act sanctions to basically prevent her and freeze her bank accounts and to torture and harass the wife. Because America identifies now with the insurrectionists, with Jair Bolsonaro. And despite the fact that America has a trade surplus with Brazil, America's hit Brazil with 50% tariffs because they prosecuted their insurrectionist former president. And now China is getting their soybeans and lots of their produce, as is the rest of the world, from Brazil and not the United States. And the United States farmers are suffering right now. And when we talk about moral clarity as well, while the U.S. takes that action against Brazil, the Treasury Department is now saying that it is America first to bail out Argentina, which is on the throes of bankruptcy because Javier Milei, the leader of Argentina, is part of this right extremist network of the Javier Mileis, the Bukeles, the Orbans, the Putin's part of that crew. So now our Treasury Department says our taxpayer dollars will be spent bailing out Argentina. Why would they need bailing out? Didn't Trump and everybody say that Argentina is a model of good governance? And when you look at the people who the Trump regime admires, it is people like Javier Milei or Bukele, which has the highest incarceration rate, in the world, and a pretty small economy. Orban with surging inflation. Trump views Putin as having like the greatest economy when Russia's economy is in the toilet bowl right now. And then Trump looks at thriving economies across the world, and even in the United States, like California, as who should be under attack. I mean, if California was a country, it would have the fourth largest GDP in the world. California is a donor state, meaning California gives $85 billion more to the federal government than it takes, whereas a red state like Texas takes $72.5 billion more than it gives to the federal government. California quite literally subsidizes most red states' existence in the United States of America, and red states function the way Javier Milei's Argentina or Viktor Orban's Hungary or Putin's Russia functions, and the diverse, pluralistic state like California is the one that's out there subsidizing all of this, only for these states to then attack California as part of its kind of fascist overall plan. So I think it's important to lay out that whole context right there. And I thought that California Governor Gavin Newsom did a powerful press conference over the weekend where he announced that he was signing into law a no mask policy as it relates to ICE agents that goes into effect pretty soon, requiring schools to come up with plans to protect students from the harassment by ICE agents. And I think Governor Newsom spoke with moral clarity at that press conference where he says Trump's America is a nightmare. Here's what Governor Newsom has to say. Let's play it.
Unmarked cars, people en masse, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights in a democracy where we have rights. Immigrants have rights, and we have the right to stand up and push back. And that's what we're doing here today. This is a disgrace. This is an outrage, what we have allowed to happen in this country. And I could not be more proud of this legislature, the legislative authors, to the community demanding more from all of us at this moment.
Finally, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel returning to the air. You know, I have mixed feelings about this, and I understand that, you know, Jimmy Kimmel has a lot of staff who depend on this show. It's unclear to me how you exist now in that orbit, knowing that they're going to do to you what they already did. I'm glad he's back on air, but, you know, I know a lot of people are celebrating this as a big First Amendment win or whatever. I may be a little bit more cynical on this one, and I wonder how you can exist when you know that if you don't do anything wrong at all, you can be canceled immediately because of the pressure from the Trump regime. You know that pressure will continue to bear down on Disney and ABC.
And by the way, Ben, like we haven't like heard totally what Sinclair and Nexstar and these affiliates are going to do also. I mean, there was a rep from Sinclair said something that here's a quote that Brian Stelter posted. Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. If you remember from our last episode of the MeidasTouch podcast, we showed you that horrific letter from Sinclair, which is a pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, right-wing conglomerate that owns the most ABC stations in the country. There's a high possibility that Sinclair or Nexstar, one of those two, own the ABC channel that you watch, and they decide, you know, they could have a say over what this programming is. They were going to put a Charlie Kirk special on that channel, and then they ended up caving and just throwing it up on their YouTube channel instead of airing it. But now they are still saying, as of this moment of us being live right now, they are still saying that they are going to refuse to air Jimmy Kimmel Live during his time slot. And so I think, you know, we still have to be aware also of all these other, forces that are at play.
And again, the theme of the show, if you act with moral clarity and your values, these decisions are easy, because now what ABC Disney has to confront is now, Brett, to your point, okay, well now Sinclair and Nexstar are probably using this to extract leverage on ultimately what they're going to be paying to ABC Disney, and they're going to want to get the most out of that. They're going to use it as a wedge in contractual negotiations, and they see that Disney ABC is morally pliable to transactional force. So they know we can get you to, like, you're weak. Like, we're going to get you to submit, right? And Trump and the FCC know that they can exert pressure. So now maybe, okay, you want to keep Kimmel? We want to make sure that you get rid of The View. Or now we want you to get rid of, you know, we want your news programming to look like this, right? So now ABC Disney has to now approach this from a position of weakness, because at the end of the day, what Trump says anyway is, you already paid us $16 million to settle the Stephanopoulos lawsuit. So you're already in my orbit. Like, you already kissed the ring, and you've admitted by settling for that amount of money that you were wrong, and that you did something incorrect, when in my opinion, they didn't do anything, incorrect. So to me, that's why you have to act with moral clarity. You have no choice. Like, even if you wanted for short-term transactional gain, it's going to screw you in the long run. So even if you actually don't have a moral compass, you have a few choices when the mob tries to shake you down, right? You can literally give the mob your store. You can run away. But if you give them a little bit on Tuesday, they're not going to come away. They're going to come back the next Tuesday. And they're going to come back the next Tuesday after that. And maybe they go away for a year, but then they come back again and knock, knock, knock. Okay, well, we're looking for our payment. What do you mean? I already paid you. Well, now you've already paid us. So do you want the world to know that you've already paid us? That's a microcosm of what we're seeing here. And then at a systemic level, The issue is macroeconomics and micro, but macro, how is this impacting confidence in the American markets? Well, it starts to look a lot like Argentina, doesn't it? And that's why on the metrics that I think are really dispositive in my view, seeing the crashing dollar, seeing manufacturing and construction recession, seeing a terrible job market, noting that the Trump regime is preventing annual inflation data and annual reports on hunger in America now from being released. What else are they preventing from being released? That really matters to me. And then I look at this market, the Magnificent Seven, as they call it, with these big AI kind of tech companies, and these companies that are leading the markets. You see that our entire stock market is being hoisted up, in my view, by what appears to be an AI bubble and other kind of tech-related bubble. And again, I worry that as we examine, and as a student of history on past great recessions and depressions, you see similar patterns. Now, I don't know. I'm not prescient. Otherwise, if I was, I would tell you precisely what to do. But I can recognize the similar pattern that we're seeing right now. And it's a Ponzi scheme like economy where he keeps moving the metrics and the measures further and further down the road, the way Bernie Madoff would say, hey, I need 2 weeks. I need 2 weeks. I'll show you the returns. You want to pull your money out? Give me a year. Give me a year and a half, right? That's similar to what we see here. And finally, I'll leave everybody with this. Let's not forget about the government shutdown, which is going to take place on October 1st. Now, all Democrats have come in and said is, look, we'll agree to your continuing resolution, but you got to preserve the Affordable Care Act tax credits, because if you don't, they're set to expire and people's premiums are going to go up 2x, 3x, maybe even more. And people can't afford to pay $1,500 a month for their healthcare premiums. Just do the math times 12, what that is. People can't afford $300 more a month on anything in this economy, let alone that. So Democrats are like, okay, you've gutted Medicaid, you harm Medicare. We're in difficult economic times. We just want you. And by the way, you may disagree. You may just say, hey, Democrats, just force this thing. Don't fund this thing at all because it's an authoritarian regime. And I think you can make a persuasive argument there. But Democrats have said, look, save people's health care. Then if you want to do a continuing resolution, even though you previously said you don't support continuing resolutions, MAGA will allow this thing to keep on getting funded. And Donald Trump ordered Republicans, don't talk to Democrats, yet alone negotiate, don't talk. And if you want to know, again, using data, why I think, convincingly show you that this is a Trump MAGA thing is, why would MAGA Mike cancel the day of work for the 29th and 30th? Like the 2 days before you're telling people don't show up to work and Republicans don't be here. That's how they're trying to force a shutdown to occur. Democrats in the Senate, to their credit, did not vote for cloture this time, meaning they did not give Republicans the 60 votes to then allow a vote where you would just need a simple majority. You need cloture, 60 votes, and then you need a majority on the underlying CR, continuing resolution. Democrats did not give Republicans that. So we're headed towards a shutdown. And Trump said, don't speak to Democrats. So Democrats said, if you're not going to speak to us, why would we support something? We're supposed to speak to each other. That's literally how this is supposed to work. It's not like your majorities are massive. Let's speak to each other. So I want to flag that for everybody. And I think that Trump wants to shut Congress down because he knows they're getting closer towards getting the Epstein files. And so he wants them shut down to stop work on the Epstein files. And I think Trump knows that we're heading into difficult and perilous economic times. And he wants to blame Democrats for that and say, Democrats shut it down. I was bringing us to a golden age and Democrats shut it down. And I just think about these symbols, Brett and Jordy. I'll leave everybody with this. As Americans are struggling to pay their groceries, as Americans can't afford homes, can't afford mortgage payments, if they're lucky enough to have mortgage payments, can't afford rent, living paycheck to paycheck, Healthcare is being ripped away. Donald Trump building a 90,000 square foot golden ballroom. Donald Trump ripping to shreds the Rose Garden and replacing it with something called Club Rose Garden, a club for rich people to party at the White House. The image of Donald Trump in the UK in golden carriage and castles, while Americans are here suffering. You know, all of that, to me, that imagery, and Donald Trump's businesses making billions of dollars. It seems every day another Trump kid is in Wall Street ringing the bell for another company that they're making money off of. It's just that contrast to me is deeply, deeply un-American and deeply problematic. So I'll leave everybody with that. Brett, I don't know if you have anything else to say before you go, but I know we covered a lot of ground today. If you're on mute.
I'll leave you with this. If there's one thing, and we did cover oh my gosh, we covered so many topics this episode, but I'll just say, if there's one other thing that we could take away from this whole kind of Jimmy Kimmel fiasco and what we've seen in the last few days, it's that your voice still matters. And I think you all were loud enough. The threats of boycott, the Disney Plus cancellations, all of the various celebrities banding together and saying, I think there were like 400 celebrities who signed a petition with the ACLU. There were tons of other celebrities who were saying, I'm not going to participate in any Disney ABC projects until this suspension is lifted. And I think all of that collective pressure from everybody shows that we still do have agency and we still do have power. And especially when you hit people in the pocketbook. And ABC's market cap or something, when it was like down nearly $4 billion since they suspended Kimmel last week. And so it just shows you that you still have this power. So take the small wins and use it, and understand that you still have to stay loud, that they want you to be silenced. They want you to be quiet, but I assure you they are not as strong as they are pretending to be. They are not as powerful as they are pretending to be. The people have the power. We just have to use it.
Jordy, take it away. And
shout out to the Meidas Mighty. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.